Welcome to Debt Proof Living with Mary Hunt. Today we continue the conversation, How to Take Control of Your Money. This series is based on one of Mary's best-selling books, 7 Money Rules for Life, How to Take Control of Your Financial Future. Mary's book is available online or wherever fine books are sold. Look for a link in the notes below. And now here's Mary with this episode's Money Rule.
Hi, everyone. This is Mary, Debt Proof Living. I'm so glad that you've joined me for our episode of this ongoing series on the 7 Money Rules for Life. It's been great. I can't believe we're almost to the end here. We're on the last rule. And this is a happy rule. I think this is one that takes everything that we've learned, ties it all up together, and gives us a really good big picture. You know, given the number of people who lost their homes during the Great Recession, which we still recall that, I'm sure, perhaps you were one that got caught up in all of that. You know, it would be easy to conclude that we should just never, ever borrow money for anything ever again as long as we live. And I don't think that that is what we want to conclude at all. You know, managing our money properly, it does involve borrowing money. And that's what Rule 7 is about. And here it is. Borrow only what you know you can repay. I know that my husband and I would have never, ever been able to own a home if we hadn't had the benefit of a mortgage. Not many people I know ever have had enough cash to pay for a house in cash. Oh, I suppose some people who have inherited a lot of money, but just generally speaking. So it would be very, very foolish for me to say, you know, live on cash the rest of your life. Don't ever borrow anything, ever. Not going to do that because of the rule number 7. Borrow only what you know you can repay. So let's talk about this word know. What does it mean to know that you can repay? I don't mean with absolute certainty beyond a reasonable doubt, no, because nobody knows the future. But what I mean in knowing is in having a reasonable certainty based on credible information. Another way to put it would be to say, borrow only what you have a reasonable certainty based upon credible information that you can repay. But that's too long for the title of this podcast. So we're just going to leave it at know. I know I can repay. And what's the best way to know that you can repay? Is to have the money in the bank set aside. Now you know you can repay. Which begs the question, well, why did you borrow it then if you know you can repay? Well, a lot of people do that. They think that putting money in the bank or in their investments, that they're going to earn money while they're using credit on the other end, which can really come back to bite you really hard. But the trouble with debt, most debt, we put stuff on credit cards we say is for convenience, but it's actually because we don't have the money to pay it right this minute. I don't have the money today. I'm getting paid tomorrow, so I'm going to put it on the credit card now and I'll pay it off later. Well, later never comes. There's things happen. And so we get caught up in that kind of debt. So I believe absolutely that a mortgage is a good thing for most people. And if you've already listened to the previous episode on how to manage your credit, you know you're not going to get a mortgage unless you have good credit. So those things go hand in hand. And you also know, because we talked about it, you're going to get the best interest rate if you have good credit, which means that you manage your credit. So with a mortgage, it's a pretty good deal. You know, you get a mortgage, you buy a home. These days, homes are appreciating, which means it makes sense from an investment point. Owning a home is probably going to be your very biggest asset you will ever have in your life. And it's an investment you need to take care of, you need to protect, you need to preserve. It's something you may be able to pass on to your children. So yes, a mortgage is something you know that you can repay. And let me tell you how I know that. Unless you take 100% mortgage, which means that you don't put any down payment and it's all mortgaged, it's all borrowed money, and we hit the skids in our economy and we have another recession so that you end up owing more than your house is worth, you can't sell it. That's going to be a real problem for you. But these days, and wise people do not borrow more than absolutely necessary, which involves a down payment. So let me tell you how you know you can repay your mortgage. You can sell the house, take the proceeds, and pay off the mortgage. You have a safety net. That is called a secured debt because the lender, the mortgage company, is on title, okay? You don't own that house. They are your owner and you are paying them back. You are paying it back monthly. When it is paid, something happens called a full reconveyance, which gets them off. You're on, you own it all by yourself. And so that's how that works. That is a wonderful, wonderful safety net. I know people in my life who have gone on tough times, lost their jobs, or maybe had to move to another area. Things happen. They never dreamed that they would have to pay that mortgage off. They sell the house, they pay the mortgage, and go on. So that is your knowing, okay? Any debt that is secured. Another kind of secured debt would be a car loan, because what happens when you buy a car and you have a lender like a finance company, they own that car. You're paying them back. And if something happens and you decide you don't like the car, there's nothing immorally wrong about you selling the car, using the proceeds to pay off the debt, and you're good to go. So that is secured. Other secured loans. Let's talk about other ones. I even know of families who have got situations where the parents want to lend the adult children money, or even the teenagers or whatever, and they set it up with a secured situation. That means there has to be collateral involved. That means that your teenage son who wants to borrow some money, you say, great, but you're going to give me your skateboard. I'm holding it. You can't use it. You have no use of it until your debt is paid. And if you don't pay it, I get to keep the skateboard, sell it because it's a collectible, whatever. Right. I'm making it up as I go here. So collateral is the way that we know for certain, okay, that we can repay that debt. So now we're going to walk into the muddy, muddy waters of unsecured debt. Credit cards come to mind because that is the big one. Oh, my dear friends, the trouble that credit card debt can bring to your life. I was just thinking this morning that as the interest rates continue to drop in our country, which are making it just fantastic for homeowners, not only are people getting new mortgages, getting them at 2.75%. Can you even believe that? People are also being able to refinance their mortgages, those bigger numbers, interest rates, get their payment way down, which is going to help them pay it off even faster. Interest rates are just way, way down. Do you know that what is not tracking that? The interest rates that banks are charging on credit cards. Do you know what the average rate on credit card debt right now is? 17.11%.
That's average?
That's average.
Oh my goodness.
That means that many people are paying like 29% interest. It is an absolute killer. Now, not only is that unsecured debt, it is so expensive. The monthly payment on those often do not even cover the interest rate. So it becomes negative, which means that you're not paying all the interest. Part of that interest is being added onto the principal. So next month, you're going to pay interest on the interest. Oh my goodness. That is killer credit. You cannot borrow money on credit cards. Please, friends, please, dear listeners, see the folly of credit card debt. It is bad because you do not know you can repay. You don't have that money set aside. If you lose your job, if you miss one payment, you are going to be in so much trouble. So I'm telling you right now, that's got to get out of your life. We've got to figure a way we can get you out of debt. Credit card debt, unsecured debt. Your secured debts, you know you can repay. All right, so we've talked about mortgages. We've talked about credit cards. We've talked about car loans. There's a big elephant sitting in the room here. Julie, do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
Student debt?
Absolutely. Bingo.
Yeah.
Student debt.
It's huge.
I honestly heard a well-respected financial advisor explain to people that student debt is absolutely secured debt.
Oh, how can that be?
Because it is secured he said, on your education, on the job you will be able to have because of your education. Your future income is securing your student debt. That is just not true. I'm going to say that's just a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie that students are being fed. I know that as they are counseled to take out the loans and all, that they tell them you'll, over your lifetime, make $1 million more than someone without a degree, which I don't think is provable anymore at all.
I don't know that that is. Yeah, it depends on the degree.
It's a nice thought. It's possible that you, especially if you're going into a profession that requires a degree, maybe like a medical profession, even a registered nurse. I know they paid very, very well. That's a lovely thought. And I don't want to discourage anyone from getting an education. But that's bogus. That's bonkers. That's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Because
let me tell you,
expensive.
No kidding. And let me tell you the truth. Student debt is the worst kind of unsecured debt. It cannot be bankrupted.
What?
You cannot file for bankruptcy and wipe out your student debts 20 years from now.
Really?
Absolutely.
I did not know that.
It cannot, by federal law, it is not subject to bankruptcy, and neither are parent student loans. You know, when parents take the parent loans, the less plus loans.
Right.
So, credit card debt, as terrible as it is, if you file for bankruptcy, it wipes it all out.
Right.
Okay? It wipes out all kinds of things. You lose the car for sure, but if you still owe money, it wipes that out.
Right.
The secured debts are you weather the storm through bankruptcy because of the security, because of the collateral. Student debts cannot be bankrupted, even if they are private student debts. But I'm telling you something, student loans, listen to me, they are unsecured. They are dangerous kind of debt. Terrible, terrible debt. I don't know the answer to it. I know that school is so, so expensive. But as we're talking right now about don't borrow money you don't know you can repay, and I'm telling you, you don't know about a student loan. If you could just see my mailbag, the people I hear from who only went to 1 year of school and dropped out, the people that I know who went into so much debt, mortgaged their home to pay for their kids to go to college, but didn't have enough, and so they took on all these plus loans. The kid didn't even graduate, doesn't have a job now. Guess who's stuck with those loans? It's really something to think about. So just in our rule, student debt is unsecured. It's very, very dangerous because you do not know you can repay. So I bet I stirred up a lot of questions in your mind.
Yeah, I have a great question. And I can tell you a little thing that happened in our home a couple of years ago. And that was, we had a few situations that wiped out our savings, and then our heater got wiped out.
Well, you mean your furnace in your home?
Our furnace in my home. Yep. It just decided it was done. So,
oh dear.
Yeah. Right before Thanksgiving.
Expensive.
The week before Thanksgiving.
Oh, it always happens like that. Yeah.
So when the heater went out, we had the dilemma of, do we put this new heater on a credit card, get some points, get great airline points, but that's a high interest rate? Or do we take the offer of 0% financing for 24 months? There were a lot of, no payments, no interest for 2 years. What's the better thing to do? What do you think on that?
Well, you're asking me which of two terrible things should you do? But I'll tell you right now, one is a lot better than the other. Believe it or not, these zero interest, zero payments, nothing due for another year, they are horrible, horrible. The only thing we have to think about is, why would anybody do that? Why would a company do that? Well, guess what? I wanted to know too. So several years ago, I went into a mattress company where they were having, mattresses. I don't know why they're notorious for this. These big, gigantic banners, no interest, no payment, no nothing. I mean, no down payment. I mean, you just walk out with a free mattress is what it sounds like. So I asked if I could talk to their finance, because they always have a finance room back there, where they run your credit and they get you all set up and all this thing. Oh, that was the best thing I ever did, because, they told me the truth. Exactly. In fact, the manager, I think he was surprised that anybody asked. I told him, I'm not here to buy a mattress. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And so he explained to me that anybody wanting that deal they run their credit. They only allow people with great credit. They will not take someone with low credit score or bad credit. But what they do, if they don't qualify, they have other products available for them, which are low, cheap. super duper dumb, horrible merchandise that they put them on another plan that's just real low interest or something like that. Okay.
But only for certain products.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
store.
If you can't
Interesting.
qualify for our big deal, we'll get you into something else.
Yeah.
And he said, because the thing is that once a person is even interested enough to see if they qualify, in their mind, they've already got a new mattress. And so they're easy sell. They're an easy sell to just move them into something of less quality, but that the store will make money on them. But he said for the people who do qualify, 72% of them don't carry through.
Really?
Here's why. This makes so much sense. Just think about this.
Uh-huh.
All right, let's say it's a $3,000 mattress, which is, it's going rate these days.
Yeah.
Okay. You have $3,000 in the bank. You could easily just pay for it. But what the heck? You know what? Why take my money? And so people say, I'll keep my money, let it earn interest, which forget that. Your $3,000 is not earning interest, not any bank I know about. and I'll make these I'll pay it off. I'll make the payments. I'll pay it off and, keep my money. There's this whole thing, using other people's money. I mean,
right.
We use that a lot as an excuse for why to do things. But here's what happens. It's called human nature.
Right.
It's called life.
Mm-hmm.
6 months from now or a year from now, it's probably a year you're supposed to pay it off. You go, I don't know if I really want to take $3,000. I mean, you're already used to the new mattress. It's no big deal anymore. Or, I know that I could just roll this over into payments, which they always give you the opportunity. If you can't pay it off, you can roll it over.
Right.
I'm just going to roll it over. Or get this. Another feature of these bogus, horrible, come-on, rip-off things, the offers, is that, you get to do zero interest, no payments and all. But if you miss the deadline by even 5 seconds, and it's hard to jump through the hoop. You have to bring them a check, or you have to come into the store, or you've got all kinds of things you have to do. You lose, and you've already signed the paperwork, and it becomes a full-on horrible kind of loan, and it retroactive back to the day you took the mattress out of the store, which means you're going to pay interest on that money. And it's a killer. It is a killer.
It's a lot of interest.
Oh, it's a lot of interest. And the payments are huge. And you think you'll never pay it off. I had this one couple who it's sent them down a terrible path, because what happened was they didn't actually have the money, but they knew they would. They were going to get a tax return or something.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they found out she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what else? He lost his job.
Oh, boy.
And so they had to use the $3,000 for something else.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have it. And it was just an absolute nightmare. My advice is don't ever, 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 ever fall for that, ever.
Yeah.
Unless you have the money. I suppose there's someone listening to me who's an exception. And I can't think of a reason why, but that is just a horrible, horrible scam. In your situation, I would have advised you to put it onto the credit card,
Mm-hmm.
but then not just go with the minimum monthly payment.
Yeah.
I would say it's scorched earth time.
Mm-hmm.
We sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything we can. We vow we're not going out to eat until this thing is paid off.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a year. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Every penny.
Everything you possibly can throw at it.
Yeah.
Get rid of that debt as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then, all right, here I'm going to be the nagging preacher. Realize furnaces don't last forever.
Right.
15 years from now, you're going to do it again.
Right.
If you only put away $5 a month or a week, whatever, into an envelope, in the cookie jar for our new furnace. I mean, just get it in your mind. You're going to have to replace it someday.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with me today. I'll see you next time.
Debt Proof Living with Mary Hunt was created and hosted by Mary Hunt. Produced by Julie Emerson with Harold Hunt, executive producer. Save time, save money every day. Make it easy on yourself. Become part of the community and subscribe for free at everydaycheapskate.com. That's where you will find all the ways you can follow Mary, Everyday Cheapskate, and Debt Proof Living. Thank you for listening.